I didn't hear it saying.
Yeah.
I heard the audio say something.
Did you?
Yeah.
Does it,
Are you sure? For sure.
we need to be,
Yeah. Is it different?
Thumbs up, yes.
It doesn't look like it.
it does not look like it,
No, there's no.
Is that recorded? It said it's recorded.
if we could just.
Okay, we're good.
Thank
Okay.
you for checking.
So, I pledge allegiance to the flag
in the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, please, like say, like participate, like say a prayer for Kate Martin. Feel free.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together, to come together this week to do your work in the community, Lord. I just ask that you bless this meeting, that it be productive, that we glorify your name, and that we all come together and accomplish what we need to accomplish. I ask that you bless the individuals that are in charge of making these decisions, give them open hearts, eyes, and wisdom and discernment as we move forward in the decision making for the local community. We do this in our name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, the purpose for this meeting, this special meeting is to get public input on two subjects tonight. The first subject is possibly a loud noise resolution, and the second one would be the retail marijuana sales. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the meeting tonight, because this is what we wanted, was public input. So, something else is if you signed in, and if you haven't, we have two different sign-in sheets over here. The one of them is for each subject that we're going to be discussing, and if you would, if you're here to speak about the noise resolution, please sign on that one, and then if it's for the marijuana, sign on that one, so we know who to call on which subject. Yeah, you can speak on both also, but they're going to be done at two different times.
Put your name on both.
Yes. Again, the public participation in the township meeting is public participation in the
State Road 135, cross out South Santa Road and State Road 222, breathing problem, medic 2, 1900 hours.
Sorry about the interruption. Public participation in the township meeting is encouraged. In the effort to conduct the township business in an orderly and effective manner, the Board of Trustees has adopted the following rules for public participation to conduct the township meeting. Public participation at a regular meeting of the board is limited to 5 minutes per individual speakers, up to 1 hour total. All comments and questions shall be addressed to the chairperson of the board. Okay. The first subject we're going to have here will be the loud noise resolution. So I'll give you. All right. The first person we have on the list for the loud noise resolution would be Greg Schuler. So look, please step up to the podium.
Do you have a resolution drafted?
No, this is really just to understand whether the public will want to look at it. It was raised in a prior meeting. Yeah, so, yeah, so we've had some conversations. I've chatted with the Pike and the prosecutor, and it's really just to understand whether this is an issue that's widespread.
Because it's kind of hard to discuss it without kind of seeing what the resolution says. I mean, whose judgment does it come around? You're going to go scientific and say it's going to be so many decibels, years for that, all that. and that type of thing. I know Deputy Pike in the past has addressed this over the years. He stated that they can now, use other means like this all the time. So my question is, what type of resolution it would be, how you're going to determine what is or what isn't unlawful, and how do you enforce it? I think those, before you can really get very far, I think we really need to understand what the resolution is. I'm sure have you looked at other countries? Ohio has something on it, I believe. Some of it refers to loud automobile noise. It comes to like loud music. The big question is how you're going to determine who's in compliance, and how do you enforce it, and also what kind of penalties are you going to it's just the beginning. But I know from past experience with other municipalities and so forth, they had difficulty enforcing this. I think that needs to be crystal clear. But now we need to.
It's just make, there is no resolution or anything, but like I said, it's been brought up in the past couple meetings about if we would consider it. So what we're going to do, and I guarantee it, the new council here, everything that we do, we will have public input on it. We're not going to do anything without getting public input. That's the whole purpose of this. This is our step one. We're going to do, and like I said, if people choose that we need to look into this, that's when we work. We don't want to spend time writing something up, putting it together. One, if it can't be enforced, because that's one of the things that we are definitely looking into, and how hard it is to be enforced. It's like I said, this step here is step one. If people sees that the people would like to see this to be done, what we would do second is same thing we did on other resolutions. We went out and see other townships' resolutions, see what they did, so that way we can take the best part of everything and try to learn by other townships' experiences. So that way we're not trying to do something for the first time here. Again, and that's, I think this whole purpose for this meeting. If it does decide to go further, and we need to put one together, it will be put out to the public, so the way the public can view it before anything's decided on. Because again, that's the whole purpose for this meeting is public input on if we should go further. So that answer your question?
Yeah, I think. I know in some situations they tried to use a decibel meter or a sound meter to determine that, and that a lot depends on the distance you're away. A lot you might have peaks and up and down on it, and also something like the high school football game Friday night. That's usually pretty loud. Are you going to wind up shutting that down by doing something like this? So that's something that needs looked at.
So a couple of things. We have absolutely been looking at it in townships. There are often exemptions for things like high school football games, certain events, things like that. They do sometimes measure by distance or by decibel, or sometimes just an idea of reasonableness. It's a little more ambiguous. It's a little more, to your point, it's a little difficult to understand, okay, what is okay, what is not, how to enforce it. Another thing, just to kind of put out there, is the Ohio Revised Code only gives the Board of Trustees of the township the authority to regulate certain things. It's a matter of what Ohio says we can and cannot do. And specific to noise ordinances, the Ohio Revised Code does give us some authority to regulate loud noise, but it only gives us the authority to regulate and to create rules around loud noise in residentially zoned areas. Tate Township is primarily agricultural. There are pockets of residential, but for the most part, we are agriculturally zoned. So honestly, when you look at the township map, there are only certain pockets, even if we were to craft something and do our best to be precise and clear and create standards, there are pretty small pockets that this would actually regulate. And so the question becomes, are those folks having issues that we can help with? If so, we want to hear about them, and we want to do what we can, of course, if that's a need. And can we craft something that is beyond the tools currently available? So Schuler, as you said, Deputy Pike has noted repeatedly that the disorderly conduct statute is available and is most often a tool that can be used. Perfect tool? No, probably not, right? But it is a tool that's available. So then the question becomes, we're going to craft something, are we sharpening that pencil? Are we doing better than that statute? And are we filling a need within our community? So that's part of this too.
So go to the next person on the list would be Robert Williams. I apologize, I missed this on break. If you would, state your name and your address, please.
I live on 133 right outside of Bethel.
Yes, that's
Business. Okay. I'm Rob Williams. As a lot of you know, I am the ex-zoning inspector. I did it for 3.5 years. Not once did I ever have them back on my office, like on voice level. I think it's kind of amazing that I've been to every meeting except for one out of the 3.5 years. Since I've retired from that job, I've missed one meeting since then. I've known out of the full time, one other person that complained about the noise level. Since then, there's been one person coming to the meeting and complaining about the noise level. I've not heard nothing from nobody else. I know a lot of people in this township. And for the council here to entertain me doing such a thing, I think it's kind of odd as a one person. Just my opinion. And I just wonder sometimes if it's really not so much the noise that they're hearing as it is the type of music that they're hearing. That should be a question that, should be answered there. Not everybody likes the same type of music, and I understand that. But I just think it's something that we live in the country, whether it's agricultural, residential, it's still country. And to a certain degree, people should be able to do what they want. That's the reason why they pay the prices, the taxes. Just what I do. Thank you.
Okay, third one is Randy Sauer.
Hi, my name is Brandy Sowards. I live on South Banham Road, right outside of town, 125. When you're talking about this movie ordinance, I have a question. The church just had a big shindig over this month. 3 days. With some music. I don't really care about it. Great, wonderful. Did I complain? You know, I had to watch the stage, listen to all this. No, I didn't complain at all. I didn't complain about how it was their enjoyment. How are you guys going to distinguish who is allowed to have loud music, who's not being allowed to have? Who's going to allow different things? What you think is loud, may not be loud. But what I think is loud is not for you. How are you going to distinguish? How are you going to say A and B house and have one thing but B house can't have? That's my problem. You've got to have it distinguished out. who's what and what is. How are things gonna be? How can we fix that? Am I supposed to call and tell you when it's your turn to do it? Hey, it's a loud noise over there. Sheriff's were at my house during that time. Not for that, for another. They asked me if I needed it turned down. No, I don't have to. Dogs bark. Am I supposed to get my dogs? They bark? Dog? Dog.
Thank you. Okay, fourth one on the list is net.
So, state of Ohio says, oh, Annette Deshawn, Levansher. The state of Ohio says, you have the right to peaceful enjoyment of your property. I'm not real sure how you can have peaceful enjoyment of your property when you have a persons, whatever, for a good distance, directionally thumping their stereo. It's not like just music, it's the low frequency vibrations that travel a great distance. And that's just not a livable situation. Something needs to be done, there should be a distance. Agricultural, residential, I don't really think it should matter. People need to be able to live in peace and quiet. It affects your heart rate, affects your blood pressure, and it affects people with anxiety. Just saying, any protections, state of Ohio gives it to you. I'm asking Claremont County, Tate Township, for the health. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the agenda for speakers. Citizens. Do you have any comment on the subject? Well, I appreciate your participation on that. Like I said, that's exactly what we're here for, is for how everybody stands on this.
Can I add something? Sorry, I didn't find my name.
We did,
Can I, is it okay?
you just come up, sign, you have to.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this
There we
is,
go.
Yeah.
There it goes, while we're here.
we're given an hour, so yeah, you got plenty of time.
I'm Kate Martin. I live on 232 across from Singleton. I don't know much about it, but I do know from the solar farm scenario is just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean it doesn't affect other people in the community in which we share. Singleton runs his brain dryer till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. He starts back up at 4 and 5. It's the season. I bought the house. I didn't know that was what it was gonna be like, but it is what it is. So I just wanna point out, just because it doesn't directly affect you, doesn't mean it doesn't warrant consideration for your neighbors, is all I'm saying.
Can I say something else?
Left an hour, it's, come on up.
Everybody keeps talking about how they wanna enjoy their property and everything else.
What if I'm sitting there and I wanna enjoy my property and that includes listening to some music? How is that any different than you want to sit there and me want to listen to my music? I have the right to enjoy my property as well, right?
I'm sorry about this, it's, I asked these two, Mr. Pike, you are the officer here with the law background, you have any input, really, resolution versus,
It's just gonna come down to if you guys want a stricter reference, just distance, decibel levels, something like that. The ORC states for disorderly conduct, recklessly causing inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm to others by making unreasonable noise. The question is gonna be, what is considered unreasonable? That's the key word in the ORC with that. They look at the biggest thing with unreasonableness is going to be the hour of the day, which the prosecutor usually sets somewhere around 11 o'clock at night. Somebody's out blaring their car stereo at 1 o'clock in the morning. That can be considered unreasonable. Somebody's having a 4th of July party and the music can be heard by the neighbors. Is that unreasonable? At 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. I don't feel that's unreasonable. So that's why the prosecutor's office looks at 11 o'clock. Those people, that's usually, unlike weird people like me who sleep during the day, most people sleep at nighttime. So I know we had an issue over here off Northeast Street where somebody was running a generator 24 hours a day. And over here on Northeast Street, the houses are real close to each other. Everybody in the neighborhood complained. Reference to the loudness of that generator. They got their electric turned off. Prosecutor's office says, nope, that is not unreasonable because they need their electric. They're going to run that generator. Sorry if it inconveniences other people, but that is not unreasonable. So the key question is going to be is what's considered unreasonable. And that's going to come down to the officer that responds. Yes.
else? Move on to the next subject. Okay. Next up we have on here is the retail marijuana sales. I'd like to clear up some things here because there's a lot of input that has been not correct. It's what I want to make sure is there seems to be a misunderstanding of where we have jurisdiction to put guidelines on. We put up a map over here of Tate Township. And if you look at the center section there where it has the red, that is the town jurisdiction. It has nothing to do with us. Now, I know there were some comments made from people about how it should be allowed in there. That has nothing to do with us. That is the town council's jurisdiction, not ours. So anything that we have to put up with that is not in that red zone. That basically goes just roughly, it goes from right out there by, let's just say Ace Hardware on the west side. On the east side, they're going to be going down to Sterling Road, just right before you get to the dairy bar. If you go north of it, you're going to go to real close to Kennedy Ford Road. And if you go south, we'll go just a little bit past what's called Clark Street. That is the town jurisdiction, not ours. So I thought that needed to be cleared up. What is our area to put guidelines over. The second thing on this was on March 2024, we put a table and freeze for 6 months on marijuana sales. It was not to ban it, it was to freeze it. The reason that we did that back then is one, we had a bunch of stuff dumped on our plates that we had to get taken care of. And as of July of this year, 2024, that's when the state was going to start handing out licenses for marijuana sales. So, in order to have marijuana come in here, it's a new business. It's something that's new, and obviously, our zoning code does not have it in there. And so what we have to do is we have to sit back as council, look at it, the guidelines that the state, the county give us, and then we have to figure out what zoning district to put it in. We do not have it in the zoning district. So that is why we froze it. To ban it, not do anything, but give us some time to figure out the details. And that's what we're at the beginning stages of doing now. And we asked for a continuation, another 6 months, because of all the other subjects that we had to deal with. It ate up a lot of our time. So again, if we have guidelines that we have to go by on how to pass resolutions. Whenever we get to the point where we get the resolution written up, and there's a process, we have to submit it to the people anyway. From the time we get it written up, it takes basically 90 days to get approved. It has to go to zoning commission, they will have a public meeting, then they will give us their suggestions on if they want any changes or anything like that. And then we have a public hearing, and then, but yeah, it also goes to the planning commission and the county also. And those steps is a flow chart that we have to go by, and it takes about 90 days. So that's what if everything goes perfect. And that's why we gave another 6 months, because we have to get this on the books. Because if we let the business come in and there's no zoning on the books, it's free reins. Anything, because they don't have any guidelines or anything to go by, other than what the state and county gives them. So we have to decide. Well, and that again, that's the other reason we're here is to get public input on this. We are not going to do nothing without public input. There's question on times of the meetings, and our regular township meeting is the second Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. It's been that way for roughly around 40 years. If you notice, all of our meetings here since this board has been together, it's always been 7 p.m. Okay? Now, on different days, obviously, we want to get plenty of time here for the people on these two subjects. So we book a special meeting for a different day than our regular township meeting. And the whole purpose of that is so we can get everybody's input. Because that's what we want this week. And when we schedule these, it has been mentioned about how it's being done on different days and all this stuff. Well, when we schedule a special meeting, we have to take into consideration this room is also used for fire department training, EMT training, their classes, updating, everything like that. So we have a schedule that we have to go and work around for this meeting. So that's why, but the Sunshine Law states that we get to have a special meeting, we have to post it with that 24-hour notice. You notice when we posted it at the meeting, we all agreed we give you 2 weeks for give the public plenty of time and plenty of notice to make sure that they get here. Because again, we're not trying to slide anything in. We're not trying to. We want the public's input, so that's why we gave plenty of time to be here. Any other meetings that you'll see that we've given a minimum, unless it's an emergency, because we did have one of those, but it's usually it's a week. We decided to give 2 weeks this time, just so we give plenty of time for people to get here. But anyway, and the reason for doing this is, again, to be open and transparent and get public participation, and that's why we did all this. But it's after we get something written up, because something has to be written, Because even if it's just to decide which zoning district it goes in. Like I said, first thing we're doing, this is the very first step, get public input. There's been other resolutions been passed where there's stuff written up and everything, and there's what public input until the very end. I think the law needs to be rewritten on that because people, again, this is in our hands, and we have to want public input first. Okay, then after our second step we're going to do here is, like we already said, we're going to seek other townships' resolutions just to make sure that we get everything in ours. Not saying we're banning it, against it, accept it, whatever. We just want to make sure that we get everything in it so we do it right the first time. We don't want to miss something. And what we're trying to do is learn by other townships' experiences. And again, that's just so we can get everything taken care of and do it right the first time. When it is written, we do have something. The third step would be, go to the zoning commission. And the zoning commission will have a public hearing, and that way everybody can come and put their public input on it then also. Then, like Ms. Steinway said, then it will go to County Planning Commission. Then we can go there for a public hearing and hear what they have to say. Then it'll come back to the trustees, and then we will have a public hearing. So this way, the way we set this up here, there's going to be 3 public hearings to try to give it to the public as much as possible. Again, we're just trying to keep keep everyone informed on what we're doing. The only thing we're going to do here is what the people are asking us to do. And we have to keep everybody in consideration because some people want it, some people don't. We've actually, Mr. Urban actually went to Board of Elections and found out where the people stand on it. And it was so close that if you sat back there and figure out the percentages and everything, it's so close I consider it 50-50. So it's close to 50-50 because we have to consider, like I said, there's 5 schools, 13 churches, and several daycares we have in consideration. And again, I know the state gave back setbacks and stuff like that, but again, we are making sure we have everything in consideration when we put this together. Not saying we're for it, not saying we're against it. We are for what the people want. And since it's real close to being 50-50, the township wants and the other 50 don't, we have to take and consider everybody and try to get 2 different opinions and try to meet them in the middle. Okay, is there anything you got like to say this time? Mr. Urban?
I just basically want to say that we work for you guys. We're for the people. Okay? You hired us in here to take care of the house. We want your involvement. Forever, nobody comes to these meetings. Now people, they're volunteers, they're coming in, stuff that we don't know, they're helping us out. So we want you guys to get involved.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up for public participation. And the first one on the list is
Maybe Todd,
Sugar Tree Road.
that's it.
I'm sorry, what's your, I didn't mean to look red. What are your names?
Todd and Terry report.
Todd and Taylor. That's sure if those were T's or J's, my apologies.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You. Handwriting's beautiful.
We're going to speak against retail marijuana. We already announced that. Our information comes from a man we know well. He works professionally, assisting the drug addicted persons through the road to recovery. He's been doing it for 11 years, and that includes over 500 individuals. He's already been through this in West Claremont, Union Township. to give us a few notes. Of course, this door's open. He gave us a few notes that he used. First thing he likes to mention is that it's still a Schedule 1, federally considered Schedule 1 drug. And something else he mentioned that I didn't know, but he says that because it's still Schedule 1, banks won't. I guess he means that, I know it's what he meant. He meant you can't use credit cards. That's what he meant? Okay. Which, with all the weed and all the money there, this would have to be property risk, or if a young person gets in trouble, would not have without that temptation of the weed and the money altogether. Another thing you mentioned is in Colorado, after 10 years, I guess it is long, but after 10 years, they did a study, and auto accidents went way up. Marijuana arrests went down, but auto accidents went way up. And I'm pretty sure he said always, well, most of the people he works with are meth addicts. And I think he literally said always they begin with marijuana. And it does increase the supply of marijuana within the community. Because that's the idea of it, but the reality is it does. Oh, and this one we've all known about, the THC level in these lab-produced weed or marijuana is much higher than it was in previous years. I mean, just many, many times higher. And another point he likes to make is the gummies make it more attractive to younger people. And something that I always think about is how do you tell your kids don't smoke weed when there's a fancy, well-lit new shop right in the neighborhood?
And one of the things that he also pointed out was in Union Township, the existing smoke shops that were just selling tobacco are now selling the marijuana. Well, I noticed we have one right next door to Grant. So imagine those almost adults and adults, it's just the temptation I feel like would be so great for them to just stop up after school, buy some pot, and also who's going to regulate, when you go as an adult and you buy that, who's going to be stopping people from selling that to children? I just feel like we've been here 22 years. We're not from here, so we didn't grow up here. I grew up in Hamilton, he grew up in Anderson Township, but we love it here. We've been happy. I've ran for school board. Some of you might recognize me. I'll be running again, by the way. Not to campaign, but we love it here, and we raised our kids here, and we do not want to see this come into our community. I feel like Bethel has enough issues that we're working on. Everybody here loves being here. We're working on, the few issues and the few juveniles that do cause trouble here. We just don't need this. We really don't need this. Thank you.
You said that based on the study that auto accidents. Oh, is it Colorado?
And they said also thefts.
The second one we have on the list is Brady Sowers.
Okay, so you guys want to pass a moratorium for 6 months. But you're going to give a week notice and the county later. In your notices, I'm sorry about all this. But they're absolutely horrendous. You take a note on 3 places in town, and you're lucky if you see it on Facebook. Never seen anything about this meeting until I said something. and ask, hey, has anybody heard anything about this? Yeah, well, you see, there's not many people here. Where do you think they are? They're not here because they don't know about it. Right? So, in 6 months, do you think you have this problem fixed? That you said it takes 60 days.
Once it's written, it takes 60 days to.
Okay, so you've had a year for the solar. Have you fixed the solar problem yet? It's completely, there's no more.
Our resolution is.
So how long is this gonna take? You already had 6 months. Is it gonna take another year? 6 months? Well, what do you think you're gonna, how long is it gonna take?
This is first, like I explained, this is our first step, and we plan on doing this in like a 3-step process. It all depends on how long it takes to get this.
Why can't we do something that notifies people better than just sticking a piece of paper on three locations? And in the township, you know, we're supposed to give you a mailing notice on your email. I've been signed up for that and I have never received one.
You do not have to notify each individual person. What you have to do is notify it on our website, fire department's website, that we also do it at. And then we post it in 3 different locations on paper. It states that it also has to be stated in a local newspaper. Well, this law that they came up with was back several years ago when there were several newspapers. Like we all know, we're only just left down to maybe 1 newspaper. So we are going above and beyond all the notices. Pay attention to our website.
Okay, my email, I get things from AKC. They mail things for millions of people. Can't you set up an email that's an automated email that goes to anyone who signed up for it?
Yeah, pay attention to the email. It is.
So I have to go and look every day to see if there's any notifications that you guys are having a special meeting.
You can subscribe to the website.
I get
I
some
have
emails all the
subscribed,
time
and
with
I
some
get
special
nothing.
meetings.
I've been for over a year, and I received nothing from the township.
There's something else that you're working on because again, with everything here, as you notice, we started recording our meetings. So it just has to be 1 step at a time. That everything here is in the dark ages. But we've only been here together. We weren't well, it's in March 3 hours. She couldn't do anything until April, so it's been 5 months. We are working on it. Our new zoning inspector is an IT guy. He is working getting everything updated. We've had quite a few things that was dumped on our laps, and we have taken care of them. All we can do is 1 hurdle at a time. As for our notifications, we are above and beyond what is required by the sunshine.
So you only focus on one thing at a time, solar or whatever.
Yeah, we got several things going on that we can only solve when we find out. Now we got several projects going. Yes, we do.
Okay. Have you looked at the revenue that comes in? Not only that, but you know, people are worried about the security of all of this. I've been to a dispensary, even looked into what dispensaries are. You have to have an ID. You cannot enter that door until you show your ID. Many of them, there is a separate location for medical, and there is a separate location for the general public recreational use. You have to know what you're going in looking for, and you have to have an ID. And if you do not have that ID, you cannot get through that door. There is a major revenue. You guys ask for money, you ask for taxes, you ask for all this. And you label all these churches, but are they just in Tate Township, or is that including the village that, you know, we're not looking at?
That's all of them in Tate.
Does that include the ones in the village?
That is up to the village council.
But your number count, is that including?
Yes. It's in
Okay,
Tate
but that has
Township.
nothing to do with this. So how can you have one church, or one school, that's the high school. You have a couple other churches that are outside the village, because you guys have nothing to do with the village. You can't argue with the village, you just said.
We're not talking. What we're saying is
So
we got
why-
other, we
why are
have
you
other
including-
people's considerations to take in other than just board. We have to take in
And I
consideration
know,
board
and I'm not
entities.
saying,
And that's what this whole meeting is for. This is our first step of getting something together.
so you're gonna have more meetings on this.
As it comes up, if there's questions that come up, yes, we will. And it, like I said, after something is written up, there will be 2 more meetings up with, after it's been
So
notified,
2 more meetings.
it will be given to the people. And it is more than what the state requires us to give. We are meeting,
And
we're
it's
going
2
above
more
and beyond.
Oh, I hope the public knows.
They do, pay attention to the website.
No, they don't all know. I'm sorry.
Okay, third one on the list is Robert Williams.
Yeah, I'm absolutely for this. There's some people that's not. Okay. I've grown up in a big township. Been in those. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it don't matter if you're an adult, if you're a kid, if you want that stuff, you're gonna get it. I don't smoke it. Won't say I never did, but I won't do it. I ain't done it in years. If you want it, you can get it. I mean, they got dispensaries right at the Eastgate, they got one in Marijuana, they got one in Richmond. So if you want it, it's there. Now, I think it's kind of silly for the township not to allow it. You know, I keep hearing this stuff, oh, we want to keep the township residential. Yeah, that's all fine. But then I sit back on the other hand, and I hear people saying, oh, school wants a tax levy, fire department wants a tax levy, this one wants a tax levy, that one wants a tax levy. Well, you want to keep it residential? Don't complain if somebody wants a tax levy, because that's where the money's going to come from. Your taxes are going to continue to go up, you know, unless we get other businesses, and maybe this is not the right one, but you gotta look at what kind of revenue do you make off of this? Wouldn't it improve our roads greater? Wouldn't it help the school system as far as getting tax money coming from the I mean, I think we're passing up another opportunity for another business to come in this village. Or not the other township stuff. It's just, yeah, it blows my mind that, you know, even the village, what we got, fast food. You know, I'm gonna jump just a little bit here. I was talking about, I'm sewer down 125. Well, we want to keep it residential. Okay, fine. I got to square one there. We are not progressing in, you know, as far as the township goes. We don't allow some businesses to open this thing. We're getting left behind. Here's Township's Road, Union Township's Road, Miami Township's Road, Ocean Township's Road. There's one. We're like a redheaded stepchild. I've been to the county meetings once. And it's hard. And I know some guys are working on it pretty good. They understand it, kind of good things change. But you want to be taxed when you actually get taxed out of your home because you can't live there anymore. So you want to fix income, just like me now. Like I said, hey,
Okay, next one on the list is Ron Ancher.
Where to start with this? So a lot about the school
You
board.
would get just,
Oh, fine, for that one. So about the school board, talk about trusting your here for the people. Here for the kids also. I'm jealous of the school right now. Don't. Just one. Seems like school isn't really on board. I think what there's lots of short like that. The most healthy. Long story short, talk about, it's everywhere. You can get it wherever you want. But they do get it one way. But, go back to you have to be transported to Children's Hospital by that. So, and it's not going to they're a little bit wrong. And it seems like our school, was more in school detention for breaking a pencil. We go there and ask for this, help for this, and vice principal, we don't have to do this. We ask for a teacher in between bells and go to a restaurant, just what's happening. Nope, don't have it. We'll say, it's not feasible. So, please ask me, why put them that? We think of kids. I haven't gotten involved in this school in 2 years. We even run for the school board. I know you say it's it'll help for roads. Well, the county don't get any money from it. The county roads don't. It's right. You know, I've heard it's everywhere. They're getting it. It's easier for them to get it right down the road now. So they are. So as adults, and someone said, well, maybe foster management, maybe we should keep out. Away from the kids. You know, not only kids, but a group of us. Deputies were there, like, they helped, they were the biggest help. Help them, help the kids. Thanks, Rob.
Next one on the list is Greg Shaver. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. We can go back.
Of course, this is controversial. This has been over the years. But I did just do numbers. In the township, issue 2, 1,557 voted for it, 1,490 voted. Did pass in the township. Some of the townships, some of the precincts had 60%. Some of the precincts had 55% voting against. Wasn't across the board in every precinct. Village precincts, both approved it. 7 precincts in the township. It did get approved by the voters. Also, some people, excuse me, bringing up the revenue, which most people looking at is probably the only positive thing. You know. Nobody wants, kids exposed, although the age is still high. But, like I said, revenue on it, I just looked this up a minute ago. Out of that 10%, it gets divvied up 4 different things. And the local community hosting facility like that, it's 36% of that. Essentially, they get 3.6%. So they sold $1 million worth in a year. I don't know what the sales are. That would amount to $36,000. No matter how you feel about it, that's
Next is Glenn Beatty.
I live on Shallow Road, Tate Township. I'm not gonna say I'm for or against, I've got a lot of questions. Positive versus negative. How many stores are in the area? Which I just heard there's now North, there's Amelia. Union Township, why do we have to have it here? You drive there, get your stuff, come back home. We're not, whatever. Is there a law or a regulation from the state? They had to come up with something, but we don't have this. Is there distances between stores? How many stores can an area have? I don't know that. I don't know how to find that out. You know, did Ohio pass any of that kind of stuff? I don't know. These are my questions. The locations next to schools, daycares, churches, are there restrictions like there were with alcohol and stuff? Or are there not? Should there be? I care about kids. I was a school bus driver for 25 years. I care about kids. I've seen it firsthand in many ways. How do these sales affect the areas? I grew up in Madisonville and Oakley area. I don't know if you guys have been down to Oakley before it got renovated into a big thing. It was having its rough goes, just like everybody does when they're in their area. Just giving you a little information here. So they got all their uppy, they redid a whole lot of upgrading, tearing down old buildings, having really nice, it's a nice area. And they put a dispensary in. Now they have shotgun holes all over the place. Violence is coming. And that's not the area. That's a high dollar area. And that was from the marijuana stores. I know that firsthand from friends who still living there. So this is not something I'm making up. It's coming from there. In fact, I even have a sister that still lives in there. What type of police coverage is going to be required? When you got violence, now you're going to have police. We just have, on our ballot this year, we're going to have a renewal for our sheriff that we have, Deputy Pike. How many more are we going to have? Now, Mr. Schiller sat there and said roughly $36,000 a year. Is that going to cover one officer more? How much more is it going to cost? Less people. Okay? I'm just asking. Who's responsible for any additional police? Is it going to fall on the marijuana stores, or is it going to fall on the population here? More taxes, because we need more police, because somebody wants to get high. When solar came in, and everybody's sitting there saying about raising taxes in our schools and stuff, solar's supposed to take care of our schools, isn't it? We're supposed to get hundreds or whatever, thousands of dollars for solar. Why do we need a marijuana store to get our schools taken care of? But solar, we've already got it. That came in without our okay in or knowing about it. Why isn't solar taking care of our schools? That was promised to us. These tax dollars are, again, promised to us. Are we going to get them or not? You know, everything's a promise, but have we seen it in hand? Mount Lord has been in service with their solar since 2019 and has not received a dime. Brown County. So when are you going to get these tax dollars you're promised? And is this one going to work the same way as solar? Are we really going to get those tax dollars? And who's the one that's figuring his dollar back? I just have a lot of questions. I'd love to know more input as far as the police department, what they think, our sheriff. I mean, and really the police department for Bethel. I mean, they are Tate Township. They have to decide for the town of Bethel. But our sheriff also takes care of them. If I'm not mistaken, you guys, you know, you help each other out. They come to you if you need help. You go to them if you need help. Is it going to increase the time of our deputy that we are already paying for coming to Bethel to take care of more problems or whatever? I mean, these are a lot of questions that we need answers to and find out from the state level. Because again, they're dumping a problem on us that we should take care of before it ever hit us. And that's my opinion on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We let other people come on up. like I said, we're allowing an hour for the subject, so
Okay.
if everybody gets through it and have extra comments, vote on it.
Okay. I'm Amy Hutchison Campbell, I live on State Route 125. I've heard a lot of good comments made here. As you guys know, Mr. Schuler and I rarely agree, but I do agree with Mr. Schuler. It's not a good income maker. It's not a positive thing, and I agree with the families that spoke about the children driving. A young man who is in serious trouble right now. Although he wasn't smoking and driving, the metabolites stayed in his system. They stayed in your system for quite some time. And as a nurse, I know there are good medicinal benefits to marijuana. Okay, some people use it recreationally. I've personally been in a dispensary when I went to Denver, check it out. I mean, it was years ago. I appreciate the regulations, but Bethel used to not sell alcohol as well as they do now. And I think the incidents of accidents have increased over the years because of that. And like the young man I spoke of, there's no current testing on the streets for marijuana use. Right there on the spot, you can see it, you can smell it. There's currently no active testing that they've come up with. So I think that needs to be considered, as well as how it's affected other townships. I'm not for it or against it. I think that's personal self-discernment and how we teach our children and what we teach them in our homes. And I think that's very important. Other than that, there's been so many good topics brought up here, and I appreciate that you're taking in everyone's input on this because it does matter. The false statements of it's not advertised, it clearly is advertised on the website, and it's easy to find, and several people share it on Facebook as well. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, but it is there. I just think there's so many good points to consider, but I think we need to use self-discernment well. So I appreciate it. Not there for
Ray Montgomery, Antioch Road. First of all, I get emails on every special meeting you guys have. I don't know how I signed up, and I get everything that you got, every meeting that you guys have. Now, John, you stated that there's numerous churches, there's numerous daycares, there's numerous schools that are out there. But no, this is something new. It's brand new. It's not illegal anymore. Marijuana is legal. But nobody worries. They all worry about the kids and marijuana, but they don't worry about all the alcohol they have to see and all the cigarettes they have to see. And now vaping, you don't even know what that's going to do to it. But you're worried about marijuana. It's legal now. And we have to go with the flow and see what happens. Now, they say that 10% of marijuana smokers are addicted. That's probably a lot less than cigarette smokers. It's probably a lot less than alcohol drinkers. Now, I personally don't think that they're going to these dispensaries and walking out and rolling a big fatty and getting their high on. It's to take it home. And I feel that most people who go to these dispensaries take it home. I don't feel that there's going to be somebody waiting there for a gun to rob them, or they're there to rob somebody. That's going to happen no matter what, no matter where you're at, whether it's somebody who needs a fix or needs a drink. They're going to find that money one way or the other. And I'm sure Officer Pike could probably tell us that's probably true. I'm not for sure. But I just want to say that, we know it's legal now. Most of us weren't around during Prohibition. I know we're old, but we weren't here in Prohibition. And You know, they had to go off, you know, that's changed. So my point is, look at it the best you can. But I don't think it's gonna hurt. Like we said, we have one in Mount Orb, we have one in Mount Carmel. Everything seems to be going okay. And with those two areas so close to Tate Township, doubt if you'll have somebody come in. You can only have so many dispensaries. And it's not like it's gonna be sold in every single vape shop. That's not true. You're gonna have one business. Now, I don't know what your zone, you said you have zoning areas. I don't know what those are.
It's residential at different levels, and you got commercial different levels. Industrial, what you have to do is try to figure out what's trying to move in and which category to move in.
Right. So we can all be probably pretty sure that you're not going to an agricultural area that's all homes and farms. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for the person who wants to bring it in.
What can happen is we got some agricultural on there. Obviously, we have that residential on there. Like other businesses, if they go and buy residential homes and try to turn it into a real estate office, an insurance office, they come and ask to see if they can have it changed to a business residence. So that's what we have to prepare for. In case that happens, we have to be prepared to a category of product.
Basically, that was my point. Everything, all this stuff's legal. You gotta look at the stuff that's already been legal for years. Gotta include the marijuana as part of that, even though it's only been here for 9 months. So, as far as that is, you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate it. I've been coming for 1.5 years since it started solar. I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs. I've never said anything. I've just observed, and you can have your job.
Okay, that's all that we have on our list, but like I said, we allotted some time here and have all the public input. Anybody else that would like to say anything? Again.
May I say something? No,
You can't say it from there, we have to.
Is she a resident of Tate Township?
Well, that's true. This is Tate Township.
But so this isn't a public meeting?
You can sit here for a public, but residents have.
Okay.
Residents speak.
Oh.
No cross speaking.
No, we can't talk. It's okay. It's okay. I understand. Maybe you do things the way they should be done by guidelines.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Mike, do you have any thoughts you want to offer based on your meeting that might be helpful? Madam Chair.
A couple things. One lady mentioned about traffic stops and detecting them of marijuana. It's going to be the same with alcohol. Somebody charged with DUI. They're charged with being under the influence of alcohol. So they're still going to be put through the state standard field sobriety test, whether we think it's marijuana, or we think it's cocaine, or what other drug, or if it's just alcohol. They're still going to be put through the same standard field sobriety. Based off of those, we make the determination where we feel they're under the influence of one of those drugs. At that point, if we suspect it's just alcohol, I usually take it to jail. We have an oxidized machine. Bethel go with Bethel has one. I'll take them there. And it'll give a blood alcohol content of them. See if they're under or over the first stage. The same thing's done with drugs. The only difference is we will do a urine test. That's one. So I can tell you this, I've been doing this job for over 25 years now. I came into this field where it was mostly just alcohol. So it's a little bit harder for me to detect the drugs. These young guys out here doing it, and they're usually pretty good on detecting. But for me, it's a little bit harder. There's different clues you look for. The pupil, actions to the pupil. You still get the smell of marijuana. Believe it or not, I smelled where they smoked methamphetamine. So there's different regulations right now where you can't. It's just like alcohol. You may not be under the influence of alcohol while you're driving, but you still can't go down the road and drink beer. You cannot smoke marijuana or use it while you're in the vehicle. Influence of it or not. Kind of just like that. So, with reference to that, yes, we do have tests. There's no test that we can use in court, even for alcohol on the city. So it's just sobriety test. We do have what's called a portable breath test. That's just for us to gauge things, but that's not allowed to be used actually occupied. When it comes to at home, I can tell you there has, in my opinion, there has been a severe increase in children, small children, getting into the marijuana and us charging child endangering with it because it's candy form. It looks like gummy bears. They're Skittles. And I have seen a huge increase. I don't have no statistics for you. This is just me responding to calls or hearing the calls come out. And it looks just like candy. If it's more accessible, it all started when it became medical purposes. That's when I started seeing that. So I like to see more people be responsible with it. I know it has great medical purposes. But I like to see the adults with it. More there is out there, the less restricted it is, and the easier access it is for them. That's just my but I have seen the increase in small children taking candy and parents not being responsible with it. And if they're not being responsible with it with their 4, 3, 5-year-old, it's going to be a lot easier for the 15, 16, 17-year-old to get a hold of it too. So, but then again, they mentioned, we're going to get it too. Not going, I don't have the answer for you on whether to allow it or not. I'm not going to give my personal opinion. I'm just giving you the facts. I'm not going to sit here in uniform, so I'm not going to give you the personal.
We're just asking for
Yep, gotcha.
Well, let me ask one more time. Anybody else have anything else they would like to say?
Appreciate everybody coming out tonight, go through your thoughts. There's something we're looking at for our time, people representing, representing the township and then there you can try to craft.
And you do have a special meeting next Wednesday? The one next Wednesday?
Yeah.
On a solar,
Our solar's been.
is it finished?
Yeah,
No,
the
no,
regulations
okay.
of it.
I must have read it.
I don't think we do.
No.
Oh, no.
Our next meeting that we
I
have
think it's
scheduled.
just the regular meeting,
Yes.
right? It's the regular.
So everyone knows, the next meeting we have scheduled, we have people going to come to the county, there's parkland and dam removal.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Do you have any?
Nope.
Again, what I would like to say is, this is our step one, to hear from the citizens first. That's what we're here for. The second step, like I said, is, we're gonna go out and seek other townships and learn about their experiences and check out other resolutions. Again, to make sure that we are doing a thorough job putting this resolution together. I think the third step that will be taken is the public hearing with the zoning commission. Then, like I said, the we'll have the Tate Township, Claremont County, Planning Commission will have a meeting on it. And then the trustees will have a public hearing on it also. Again, trying to bring it to the people as much as we can. Because once it seeks council's hands, it becomes attorney-client, and we can't give out any information after that. That's why we're here now, to get it, so that way we can keep you guys advised on it as much as we can. The other thing is, I would like to thank everybody for coming out, because this is what we needed. Then the second thing is, I'd like to thank everybody for keeping it orderly. This meeting went much better than some of the other meetings in the past. And this is what we like to see, because we can get more accomplished this way, and that's the whole goal here. And that's all I have to say.
I'm good. Make a motion.